Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today's guest is Melissa Salmeron, discussing how prioritizing your self-care will enhance your entire family's life. Melissa is a certified master life coach who helps moms give themselves the space they need to defeat overwhelm, step into their power, and show up as their true selves through the power of the CARE method. She believes it's not about what everyone else is doing, what the world thinks you should do, or how you think you should be. It's about connecting with who you are and defining motherhood for yourself. For more information, check out her website at melissasalmeron.com. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Laura, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. Such an honor to be invited to come and talk about self-care today.
Exactly. So if anyone's listened to Well-Adjusted Mama and pretty much any other episode I've ever done, Mama self-care is like a continuing theme across the board because it's just that important. And especially, not just for that woman's self-care, but specifically as pregnant or new moms and how important this is. So we're going to be talking about really why self-care is worth prioritizing, and not only how that impacts a woman's physical, mental, and emotional well-being, but also her entire family will benefit from that. So I'd love for you to just start off with really sharing kind of your story and how you became so passionate about this topic.
Yeah. So it all started, I don't know, time flies by when you're a mom too, right? But I'd say it all started about 6 years ago when I was a mom of two at the time. They were very little. And I just kind of realized one day that I had lost myself somewhere along the way. And so I started doing I'd always been into personal development, but I really started diving deep. And so I started seeing a counselor at that time. And I will never forget, there were two critical things that she introduced pretty much right away. One of them was, when you get home in the afternoon, her really digging in to understand, was I giving myself any self-care? And she suggested to me, why don't you just take 20 minutes when you get home every day and just, transition from work to mom. And at the time I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, really 20 minutes, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. I think you've lost your mind. Who does that? Who has time for that?
And men do it. That's who does it.
Right?
And they don't have any guilt about it whatsoever. They're like, of course I have to transition.
I know. You're so right. You're so right. And my husband still does today. It's like he disappears. Nobody misses him.
Right.
But mom, on the other hand, I thought the whole world might crumble and fall down. So, I put that out there to say that, it was proposed to me and I wasn't ready and I didn't get it. And
you didn't follow that suggestion. You didn't think it was going to be, you didn't even think you could do it.
I didn't even think I could do it. I didn't. But I did start incorporating at that time, just really looking at, like you said, Laura, there's so many different aspects to self-care. There's the physical, there's the emotional, there's the mental, there's the spiritual. And so I just started kind of honing in on the ones that felt easiest for me. And so I started with a boot camp in the mornings to take care of sort of that physical piece of it. And I think, that's kind of what I like to share with people is that, with moms especially, is that sometimes, we make self-care sort of overcomplicated. We think we need to devote an hour a day to meditating, or, it needs to look a certain way. You need to journal. You need to maybe you're completely just overwhelmed with the amount of options of self-care that are out there. And so then you end up doing nothing. And, that's certainly just a recipe for disaster, I'd say. So I started really with the physical piece. And then I slowly kind of worked my way into realizing that actually, honestly, for years and years, I'd wanted to slow down. I thought I wanted to slow down. And I finally got to the point where I was having tremendous anxiety. I have 3 kids. So after I had my 3rd kid, I was having tremendous anxiety, and I was willing to try anything to get through that, because I had gone alternative routes with medication. And sometimes, I'm not against that by any means. But I really felt like my body was saying, slow down.
Sure.
And so I finally decided to start a meditation practice. And when I did that, it was just such incredible things started happening in my life. I was able to begin to be so much more present with my kids and with my husband. And I'd always wanted to be more present, but I was always so focused on all the things that needed to get done. The list,
Right.
it's never ending, right? And there's
Right.
never enough time to get to it all. And it's a battle we can't win, right?
Yes, we can win. We really
We
prioritize what
can.
needs to get done.
Yes, we can. But it feels like, it's a battle we can't win until we realize that, by investing, 15 minutes a day in meditation, for instance, that you're able to see things more clearly. You're able to maybe sit down and prioritize, because I was running around all the time like a chicken with my head cut off, right? Like,
Yeah, you
not
were like on a
prioritizing.
hamster wheel. And
Yes.
so many of us are, and you cannot think clearly. You cannot prioritize when you're in that fight or flight state. It's just impossible.
Right. So, that's sort of where my journey started, and I became more present. And then it's kind of funny, and I don't know if you've experienced this, or your listeners may have experienced this, when you start having this awareness around self-care, maybe with, you try one thing and you sort of have this breakthrough. It's like, oh, what else can I do? What else can I add on to take care of myself? And so it just sort of opens up this doorway of happiness. I'll say, where, you realize you can wake up a little bit earlier in the morning and take a walk, because that's really what, lights you up, is to connect to nature, for instance. And so I really, over this past 2 years, and especially this past year, with the opportunity to just be at home a whole lot more, I'm realizing how incorporating just small little rituals into my day, how much more of an energy burst it gives me, and allows me to be so much more productive, connected, and just feel better.
Yeah, I mean, that really, I think, is, from a very basic nervous system perspective, you get out of that oversympathetic, the world is coming to an end, right? Like, that's how it
Yes.
feels when you have that overwhelm, to increasing your parasympathetic. So you can be more grounded and like just really more conscious and deliberate with what you choose, how you choose to live, and how do you choose to connect and communicate. And I mean, like, I think a great example is just like you could be in the same room with your child, but that does not mean you're connected to your child, right? That doesn't mean you're spending quality time with your child if you're on your phone, you're thinking about something else. So I mean, it's hard. I mean, I get it. I'm a mom too, but do you have any like recommendations to women, especially women that are working outside of the house, of how to have a deeper connection with your children?
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing that I've really done is I've allowed them to kind of like step up. And my 7-year-old, for instance, she enjoys helping me out at dinner time. So instead of rushing through dinner and not letting her help, letting her help, and
And
that's
it takes longer.
and it takes longer. It does. I know it does. But so I let her do that, and then there's so much that connection, like you said. It's so good for her self-confidence to be able to, you know, do something really well to build the skills. And the other thing that I think has been a game changer for me is from 6 to 8 p.m. We're off screens. So,
Oh, wow.
yes. And it can be a challenge. Every once in a
Yeah.
while, I have to check something, but very, very quickly. But just, having that time as a family together in the evenings. I'm in Houston, so it's really hot right now. So our evenings are changing up a little bit, but taking that time to go on walks or go to the playground, and just hang out and just be focused on each other. It's it's done wonders for all of us.
That's beautiful. I mean, what a wonderful, like just really precious family time together. I mean, I know a lot of families, like especially if both parents are working, at the end of the day, you just want to collapse on the couch and put the TV on because it's going to like watch your child, so to speak,
Yes.
right? And distract them. But there's no connection that can occur. That happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we used to do that. And I used to do that. I would be doing, all the things I needed to do while they were doing that. And
Right.
my husband
Doing
used
the
to work late.
dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And now, yeah, our house is messy. It really is. But I'm happier. I think they're happier.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's really something to be said about, what brings joy and happiness into your life, right? And it is about really choosing how you want to spend your each moment, right? And I think also really, once again, getting some of this pressure off of these expectations that we think that maybe culturally are out there or we put on ourselves of like what we should be doing, so to speak, as opposed to what do we want to do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, society tells us like you have to be productive all the time. And, what does that mean, productive? It's just,
Well, it comes very much from a masculine place. Like literally my
mhm.
last episode was all about the yin way. And, I would say, especially in the United States, we have not been conditioned to, I mean, because I would even say your time at the park with your family is quote unquote productive, right?
Right.
But from a cultural perspective, probably not, right? Because it's not generating money or whatnot. It's not cleaning, but you're spending like quality time with your family. And I mean, really, is there anything more important than that? I don't, it's pretty important.
Yes, absolutely not. I mean, we all know how quickly um, this this time goes. Our kids are, we turn around and we blink as soon as they get in school. They've graduated and they're gone. And you know, I, nothing's nothing's going to be without. I don't want to use the word perfect, but basically, I don't want to have regrets around just like not having my priorities in order while they are here with me.
So I know as a coach, and when you're working with women, helping to support them with prioritizing their self-care, that you have created your care method. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I came up with this method because based on my own journey, I think as a lot of us have of really tapping in and reconnecting with myself after getting so far away from it for a few years as I sort of put everybody else's needs first. And so the C of the cure method is sort of where we began when I start working with moms and finding that methodology that's going to work for you, where you can really start putting yourself first and really reconnecting with yourself. So um, for some moms, that's meditation. For some moms, that's journaling. So we really walk through a process to see really what's going to fit best for you. Um, and then the A is for awareness. And that comes down to a couple of things. The first one is communication, understanding your communication style and other people in your life's communication style. So when we understand ourselves and how we operate, and then of course, like I'll use my spouse as an example. How they may be communicating in the world, and understanding that if we communicate with them in their style, it goes a whole lot easier. And and so that's huge. And then we do a little bit of belief work in there as well, just sort of exploring what some of your beliefs are, what might be holding you back from really, really having what you want in your life. And then the R and the E are very closely intertwined. And this is where we do a lot of boundary work. Yeah. So the R
Let's
is,
talk about that.
yeah. The R is for re energize. And really, we talk about responsibility and that piece and habits. And then the E, which is for empowerment, that is uh, where we look at, putting those boundaries in place and really setting them and standing firm in them. So that is the care method. And that's where I find you come from a completely overwhelmed state as mom, and you are able to move to a place of more calm and peace and joy.
It sounds amazing. So, as you were talking about boundaries, I think it might be worth kind of exploring that a little bit more, because I think that maybe a lot of us as women grew up with mothers who did not know how to set boundaries and did not set an example for us. So we don't know how to. So, I mean, if you have somebody you're working with who really needs support around that, like how do you start setting boundaries when that's not comfortable?
Yeah. So I think it's recognizing, really kind of taking a moment to sit down and think about different areas of your life. You may know that some of this, but you may be surprised what you maybe you've never sat down and really thought about. What is okay and what is not okay with you when it comes to your relationship, when it comes to work, when it comes to all these different areas of your life. Uh, so I think starting there and sort of recognizing, um, what is and what isn't okay with you is where we would begin. And then, like, once you know that, what do you do with it? Right.
Right. Especially when it comes to, let's say, your spouse.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think um, there's a lot that there is to explore there, like really understanding what your beliefs are around what a relationship should look like, for instance, with your husband. And you may think, because we all bring, like it or not, we all bring our family of origin into
Yes,
our
we
marriage.
do. We do.
Oh, yes.
And typically, I mean, even if you and your partner or your husband come from the same family, similar, same, let's say, country background, that does not mean that you had the same upbringing.
No. And I married a man who was completely from a different cultural background as me. So that just adds more fun. So it's so funny. Our first Christmas married, this is just such a good example. We went and got our Christmas tree, and we brought it, he helped me, brought it inside. And then I pulled out everything and I said, okay, put the lights on the tree. And he said, well, I'm not going to put the lights on the tree. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, yeah, you are, like you're the husband puts the lights on the tree.
Was this his first Christmas tree?
No, but his mother had done everything always. And I was like, the husband puts the lights on, the wife decorates the tree. This is how it goes.
That's how I was raised too, actually.
Okay, good.
Because the lights are a pain and you have to be taller to reach those top branches. So, of course, the guy does the lights and maybe the angel on top, and the more delicate, decor with the with the ornaments is the woman's job, right?
Exactly. I'm so glad you feel the same way. But yeah, that's not the way it was done in his house. So, I mean, you have to look at those things, right? And are you going to be willing, or do you want to draw a line in the sand basically around something as silly as who puts the Christmas lights on the tree? Or it's so funny because he does it now, right?
Right.
All these years later. But I just decided that I wasn't going to make a big fuss over it.
As a mom of a toddler, I know how frustrating it can be when the sun is shining in my child's eyes. We're driving down the road and there's nothing I can do to protect him. I'm just praying that I'm going to be driving by some tree coverage so to help, shield that sun from his eyes. And that's why I was so excited to find this product from Baby Trend called Cover Me 4-in-1 Convertible Car Seat. This car seat is amazing. It comes with an innovative and patent-pending integrative canopy that offers height adjustability, ratcheting coverage, and side sun protection to literally create an umbrella and shield that sun from my son's eyes, which is amazing. It's also so cool that this car seat can literally be used from newborn all the way through 100 pounds, which is phenomenal. It just makes the life easier for parents and child. To check it out, go to babytrend.com/OSSA, OSSA, and use the code COVERME20 for 20% off.
But so looking at that's really, really important. And then, for me, that was the second thing my therapist talked to me about was boundaries, because when I first started seeing her years ago, I really was a boundary disaster. I mean, I thought boundaries were selfish and unloving, and I was really mixed up about what boundaries were and what they weren't. And yeah, I did think that they were.
Selfish is an interesting word too. I think that's very much part of our cultural conditioning as women.
Yes.
That we put everyone else in our life first. As our, that's our job to put everyone else first. And that when you make yourself a priority, that you're being selfish. I don't know where that came from, but I feel like that must go back generations.
Right. And the reality is, if we're not taking care of ourselves, then how are we supposed to take care of everyone else?
Yeah, not very well.
Right.
It's coming from an empty cup.
Right. And it's like we get it so twisted. So, I mean, I do think boundaries are sort of like the ultimate self-care, right?
Right.
Get really clear on what those are. Then it just becomes so much easier because we don't have all of this resentment built up we don't have, we have to worry about, are we meeting other people's expectations? And it's just so freeing.
It really is. So, like, let's say someone doesn't have a lot of experience with that and now is like, okay, I'm going to start setting boundaries with, people in my life. You're going to get some pushback, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're having that previous experience with you and expectation that you are the yes woman. And now you no longer are.
Yes. Yes. So I think that it would be silly to think. And I did get very frustrated in the beginning where, I set the boundary and they crossed it. And
Right.
none,
Because that's what you had taught them in the past, right?
like, I don't understand. They don't get it. And realizing that, yeah, you've been teaching people all along how to treat you. And then you're the one changing the game. So, of course, no one wants you to change the game on them. So they'll continue on with the way they always treated you until until they know you're really serious sometimes. So it's knowing that it's not necessarily going to be an overnight practice. But what a boundary is, just going back, it's like, it's what you're willing to do or not do, right? This is all about you. This is not about controlling the other person.
Right. We're changing the other
Or
person.
changing the other person. And so I had to get really comfortable with the I statements, right? I feel like this when, XYZ is happening, and here's what I need, as opposed to, you're always leaving a mess all over the kitchen, and I have to go and clean it up, and you're making my life so difficult, kind of a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, for instance.
Mm-hmm. You're a slob.
Yeah, you're a
Right.
slob. You never clean up after yourself. You. So, starting by just saying how you feel, what you need, in the form of making it all about you, I think is one of the first things.
Yeah. And I think there's a vulnerability with that, right? Because it's easy to just call people names and point out all their flaws, so to speak. But essentially, what you're doing is you're reversing that and saying, this upsets me when this, and, you're speaking to your emotional state, right? And I think that is obviously much easier for people to receive than when you're coming across as accusatory or derogatory or name calling. It never goes over very well.
I know, yeah, and we still use that broken strategy, and I'm calling myself out because I even still fall into that trap every once in a while. It's just that was my default for so long, right?
Right.
And oh goodness, there was something else I wanted to say around that. I'm sure it'll come back to me in a moment. It was around being vulnerable and sharing your feelings, and that is, that does take some work, because I do think that is part of what made it so challenging for myself initially, is because I was not used to sharing my feelings at all. And I thought I was, because I had always been very emotional, but I did not realizing there's a difference there. Understanding how you're feeling, sometimes you have to do that work before you can really communicate it.
Right. Exactly. So, a lot of what you're talking about too is personal development and kind of doing the work on yourself, right? Which is all, allowing someone to be able to do self-care, right? I feel like that's so important. Can you talk a little bit about, as women and moms, as we do this personal growth for ourselves, how does that impact us as moms and parents?
Well, I think so many of us didn't necessarily get the tools that we needed, or that we would have liked to get while we were growing up from our parents, and maybe our parents didn't didn't have these tools to give us. But I know for me personally, I've always just had a growth mindset. But when I really started focusing on, okay, I want to build a family here, it became just even so much more important to me because to be able to uh, raise my kids with some of these tools to give them.
Right. We're modeling, right, for our children.
Yes, yes. And I look back, my oldest is almost 11, and I look back at, some of his first years, and I was really trying. I was really, doing what I could, but, you just are where you are in your stage. And now, my second and my third children have it so much better in terms of, mommy not yelling all the time, um, and some of these things that, which I didn't do, but, um, I'm able to have conversations with him around boundaries, for instance, as he's stepping into those preteen years, that I would have never been able to have. I would have never been able to support him had I not done all this work myself.
Right. And so I think that's also a good lesson. Like there's no guilt or regret about the parenting that has already happened.
Right.
Because we're all just doing the best that we can, but it's just really becoming aware of where we can grow and improve might sound kind of harsh, like be a better mother, right? But essentially, we're just talking about improving ourselves as a person and how that will, benefit everyone around us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about things like body image, for instance, I have a daughter.
All right.
And I didn't grow up with a very good body image. And I think a lot of us have that too. And I just was determined not to put that on her.
Right.
And
Right, because she's getting it from everywhere else, right? Like it's not just coming from the home. You see it on TV and magazines, and this on social media now. Like it's can be really hard on these preteen teenage girls to feel confident in their bodies.
absolutely. So, imagine getting all of that from everywhere else and then being at home and, watching mom weigh herself all the time, or, scrutinize everything she eats, or, just speak in terms like I grew up hearing, you're going to get fat if you eat that, or whatever it is. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's just, such the wrong message. That's just such not the message that I want to be sending.
Right. And I would say that's even, boys are also can be sensitive to that as well. So regardless, making these type of statements, which I think we see more of that coming from like the generation before us, right? Like that are like you eat that one donut and you're going to get fat. Like, that's so illogical, but that is literally, that does come out of people's mouths. And, we have the responsibility to shift, even if we grew up hearing, crazy shit like that. It doesn't mean we have to repeat it. We can choose to, our child wants to eat a donut, like we can actually talk about that and not just make a statement that is coming from a place of shame and guilt and fear.
Right. It's all about choices, learning about choices.
Yeah. And balance, right? Like even if we want to talk about food, for example, like recognizing that there could be a time for it to eat a donut, right? And celebrate and enjoy it. But we're not going to eat donuts every day, all day.
Yeah. Unfortunately not.
No. I actually would be really sick if I did that. So I appreciate and I enjoy the times. I think you can enjoy those types of foods even more so, right, when they're on an occasional treat.
Absolutely.
So, what else do you want to share with the women listening about self-care and the family?
Yeah, I think just not getting in a space of overwhelm when it comes to looking at self-care, really just thinking about small ways you can maybe incorporate some things into your day. Whether it's, taking a couple deep breaths every hour, while you're during your workday, whether it's, setting some special time in the morning or in the evening to just do what feels good for you. And I mean, it can be anything really, just not limiting it to thinking that, it has to look a certain way. Right. This is all about what lights you up, what makes you feel good, and making that into a, a daily habit, and just seeing kind of where you feel, how that impacts you. Really kind of taking a look and seeing where, hey, I may want to add in a few more deep breaths, or I may want to add in some journaling here because I'm seeing the effects of it, and I'm seeing how it's showing up in my life and making life just so much easier, and all of my relationships, for instance.
Yeah, I think that's so huge. And it just goes back to, once again, having that clarity about really what are our needs, what is my needs, and and why my needs are important, right? And yeah, I think that's just so huge. And I think also what I really appreciate, that we talked a little bit about and is in your bio, is that we even grow up as little girls about what we fantasize our family life to look like, right?
Yeah.
And then once we're there, we're like, oh, this isn't what it looked like on TV, right? So I think that's really important to help kind of understand that little girl fantasy. How do we, either, number one, how do we create it, or is that really what we want? Do you know what I mean? There's
Oh,
all of those
absolutely.
questions.
I never took the time to think about whether or not that's really what I wanted. And yeah, it was sort of like a predetermined path for me.
Right.
Right, to do. And I do know I always wanted to be a mother, but no one knows what that really looks like until you get there.
Right. You really don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and, I also realized that I also really loved working. I always thought I'd want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, interesting.
And, and then I realized that I didn't. And, then that guilt that can sometimes come along with that. But I really realized that, yeah, if I'm doing what fulfills me, then the kids are going to be better off for it versus, me trying to stay home. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. I really feel like I didn't know what I was doing. And, are we supposed to be now am I supposed to know how to teach them and all of these things? It felt like a lot of pressure. Actually, it just felt like a lot of pressure to be a stay-at-home mom. And I so admire moms who are able to do that, because it is a huge, huge job. I kind of feel like I took the easy way out, by working, but but I guess the bottom line is you define motherhood for yourself.
Right.
It just doesn't have to look a certain way. Nothing does. And the more we can let go of what everybody else wants, what society thinks, and what we've all been programmed to believe, the better off we're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think, for some women listening, they might be like, I don't even know what the hell I want, right, in my life. I've just been going through the motions of what I think I should be doing. So, I mean, it sounds like from your previous recommendations, journaling, meditating, I think can help bring some clarity around getting clear on what you want, right? So that you can then start taking different action towards that. Because obviously, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're just going to keep getting the same results.
Yes. Yes. And I'll be honest, I'm not a daily journaler. But
Are you a daily meditator?
I'm a daily meditator. Yes.
I'm still working on that myself.
We all have our things, right?
Yes, right.
But when I do sit down and journal, it's the awareness, like you said, Laura. I mean, it's incredible. And I think it's, probably why I don't do it more often is because sometimes, it's scary to see what's going to come up and what kind of awareness you're going to bring out.
Right.
Because it's like, oh gosh, then I have to see this about myself. And, I don't feel like I'm ready to see it. But
that can be scary.
Yeah, but it's so funny because once I sit down and make myself do it, whatever I think is going to come up and me feel bad, it's so funny just by being able to look at it, it loses its power over you.
Yeah, that is like the first step. Because really essentially what you're saying is you're bringing what was subconscious to consciousness. And,
Yes.
It's in your face. You can't ignore it anymore. And it's also like a huge relief that you're like, okay, now I understand where this is coming from. Right. And I can, move forward.
Right. Right. So there's that awareness, and then it's like, okay, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to do anything about it?
Right. And that's also a decision, right? Like maybe it's not the right time to do something about it, and that's okay. Or maybe it is.
Right. Yeah, but it's kind of like once you know something, you can't unknow it, right?
No, you can't. You cannot unknow it. That is such a true statement. And there's a lot of I think that can be a lot of fear, and that's going to be really scary. But man, I'm like, oh, how freeing that is. You can no longer claim ignorance.
Right. Yep. It's so true.
I love it. Well, Melissa, do you have any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
I think that the thing I like to share most is just like, do something, start somewhere, start with 5 minutes of something that's just going to be all about you and taking care of yourself. We can all find 5 minutes in our day. And I promise you, if you consistently, 21 days to build a habit? Mm-hmm. If you can spend 5 minutes on your day, 5 minutes a day on yourself for 21 days and just make that commitment, you'd be surprised what benefits you end up seeing.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, 21 days might seem like a lot, but it's 3 weeks. Like if you can commit to something for 3 weeks, it's gonna pay off in dividends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I love it. So Melissa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passion for all things mama self-care. And I'm just really grateful for you sharing your knowledge and wisdom.
I'm so grateful that I've been here and had the opportunity to talk to your audience. Thank you so much, Laura.
I hope you enjoyed this episode today with Melissa. I think that her wisdom and guidance is just great life advice in general of creating boundaries and preventing overwhelm and overextension of ourselves, especially as women and mothers. But recognizing that when we really fill our cups up with self-care, which we now know can be in a variety of ways, we're able to take care of those around us that we love in a much better fashion. So please check out her website for more information to learn more about her care method. And if you or anyone you know is thinking about getting pregnant, please check out my holistic preconception program, which is all about helping you prep for healthy conception, healthy pregnancy, and empowered birth experience at my website, drlaurabrayton.com.